Hello and welcome to the channel. So there's a bit of a treat for you today. This one you may not see if you live in the States. You may not have seen one of these before. This is a Wem Dominator Mark III. I've got two of these I use for gigging, and there's 15 watt amp, two AL84s, 6 BQ5s for the output stage, and 3 12AX7s. 2-channel amp. We just hone in. Very simple, great sounding amp, easy to use, just a volume, treble and a bass. Same on that channel, and a bright switch, which is bright. Let's have a look in the back. So if we're just looking in the back, there's not much to see on the back, and if we look, we can see that speaker, which looks like an Alnico in this one. Some of them had Celestion greenbacks in, the later ones did. This one's just got the, I'm sure that's an Alnico speaker there in that one. There's a few cobwebs there. This amp has been used, and I have plugged it in. It's in very good condition, and in fact if we look at this plate on here, you can see that the polythene's still on it. And I can tell you this amp is probably from about 1973. This covering, this more smoother covering that you can see on here, that they started putting these on the Dominators about 72, more or less, when they first came out. The Mark III Dominators anyway, because the Mark II was obviously earlier model. And then they went to the more coarser cloth around late 73, early 74, from what I can make out. The very early ones, I've got a voltage selector on the front. This one hasn't, so that's what makes me think this one's about 73. But we'll check inside, because normally on these the date is on the electrolytic capacitor. So to get in the back, we've just got these two grills on this board, and all we do is we take out these screws that you can see here. So I'm going to nip and get the cordless drill, and we'll remove it. Right, we'll get this back off. Right, so we just remove this. You can see inside, and this is amp, is all original. It's had some tubes in it. It's had some preamp tubes in it. Let's have a look. So let's try and zoom in, and then you can see inside. So if we just look across. So we've got two output tubes there, and they look like the original Mullards. Excuse the tripod. You can see a preamp tube there, and then a couple of tubes, one there and one there from China. And then we've got this EL84, which is a Mullard, and it's a British one. And then what is this tube? Because I don't think this is a Mullard. No, it's not. Let's have a look. He's a bit of a nondescript. So it's had some valves in its time. Very dusty. It's a brown board one, and the difference between these is the later ones had a green board, and they also had no grid stoppers on the first stage. This one I believe has 56k on it. Very strange that, an amp with no grid stoppers on the input stage. Original capacitor, you can see there on the board, and you can see that's wherever this amp's been. It's been in the sunlight at some point, stood in one place, because if you look at that, you can see it's bleached the colour off it. Full of useless information, me. And then you've got the electrolytic there, which is a 50+50. You've got the diodes on there, and then you've got that 1.5k that's a drop-in resistor from plate to screens on the output stage. A few cobwebs in there. You can't beat a few cobwebs, can you? on the transformer there. So we just peer inside. The output transformer, and a nice, for a 15 watt amp, that's a fair old size, that one. So good amps, these, really good amps. Right, we're going to get this chassis out of the case, and to do that, if we just move around onto the side, you can see there's 2 screws there, and there's 2 on the other side, and then there's 2 screws on the front, which we take out to get this out, and it slides out. Very good because it's just on ledges here, and all you do is slide it out. You've got to disconnect the speaker. Right, so I've got it out of the case. You can have a good look at this now. So you can see we've got the pots there. They're CTS pots in these, I think. Yeah, CTS, yeah. The main electrolytic there, you can see that one should be 32 microfarad at 450 it is. Yeah, it's a bit grubby inside, but only dusty. Now the good thing about this amp as well is that it's got these mustard caps in, and the early ones had those in. And there's a couple of caps there that used to be in the Vox, are in the Vox AC30s. I can't remember what maker caps they are now, but they're in. There's 2 of those in there. These are mustard caps here. You can see. So we've got 100 ohm cathode resistor, and we've got I think that's 50 ohms. That's the cathode bypass capacitor. 50 microfarads. Sorry about that. Duh. Yeah, so this one's got the grid stoppers in, 56k, but the later ones didn't have. Very strange. The later ones boards are green and more transparent as a lot of PC boards are. That's the dog growling. My dog specialises in no one's allowed to walk down our street, only him. So if he sees anybody on the street through the window, he's immediately growling. He's still young. Right, let me just turn it round. So these knobs tend to lose their inserts as well, like a lot of these type of knobs. 2 types of these volume knobs. The earlier ones they've got like wings on the knobs. These are just normal round knobs. They also tend to lose these inserts, which a lot of these type of pots with inserts, they tend to get lost. This one's got all its inserts as well, so that's really good. This is a really good example. It's just a bit dusty inside, but that's no problem. We can soon clean it up, and I'm going to clean this up because I've got to get the board out and they're not a big job to get the board out. We're going to get the board out because we're going to change these. We're going to change this cathode bypass capacitor here, and I don't think these have any cathode bypass caps on the outputs, on the preamp stages. Sorry, I don't think they have any cathode bypass capacitors, if I remember, and they don't really need them. This amp is really loud. I don't think they have, and I can't see any in there looking at the minute. I'll get the schematic out and have a look. So right, I'm going to get this in the workshop. I'm going to change this 50 plus 50. I'm going to change the diodes because I just always do on old amps, and I'm going to change this capacitor here. Some of them don't have this holder. Some are just into the board, and we may end up having to do that because I don't think we'll find a cap that will fill that bracket. Right, I've got this amp on the bench now, so we can start and do a bit of servicing. So where do we start? So I think we'll have this board out first of all, and we've got these rather tiny nuts. Right, I've got those nuts out. I've got the board off the bottom. Remove those nuts and bolts. Now those are seriously tight. Right, I've got this board out. You can see the back of the board there. Let me just hone in on that. You can see The board green on the bottom, brown on the top. All looks in good order. It does, looks in good order. So I think what I'm going to do first is change these components, and then we'll clean this aluminium chassis, and these clean up quite nice. Doesn't look like there's any corrosion on it or anything, it's just dusty. It just needs its face washing. Right, so we've got this cap out, and here it is, and you can see that says June 72 on that one. And I'm afraid the bracket that we've got here is going to be just way too big as we thought. So we've got 33 at 450, so you can see just, well, it's 32 at 450 now, so you can see just what the difference is in those. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off, unbolt it, solder the cap in, and then use the holes if we can to get some to get a tie wrap in there to hold that. If not, we'll just put some glue around it. So there we have it. So we've used the holes, we've just come around the outside there, it'll be absolutely fine. He's solid and he's soldered in, so that's that one done. So we're going to get this big can out now. He's got to go, although he's actually functioning normally, but I don't leave these in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to snip the diodes there and there, like so, and we should have two wires going to that black one there is one of them, so we'll just snip it, because I always remake those anyway. Don't know whether I can get to the bottom one. I might have to do that when it's actually out. We'll have a new 1.5k resistor, because you can bet that's out of tolerance. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. Oops, wrong screwdriver. What am I doing? Yeah, just hold that with the pliers and get him loose. Oh yes, no problems. Now I also think that this bracket, slightly bigger. These caps are a slightly bigger diameter than the one I'm going to put in. And I think with these, you know, if I remember, the only way to get these out is you have to bend the. Yes, I'm doing this, but you have to do that to get them out, and like so. And he's not got a date on him. And this is one of them Erie caps, or Ire, I don't know how you pronounce that. And they were in a lot of British amps in the 60s and 70s, more so in the mid 70s. So let's just have a look at this. Look in the middle there. Yeah, I'm afraid the gumption's coming out, and they've done well really, you know, when you think that's been in there 50 years. And it's credit to some of these capacitors, how long they last. Makes you wonder whether modern electrolytics will last that long. Right, let's have a look at this and see what. Now this capacitor is a bit bigger, so we are going to be careful with this. So we might just go. I think we might just have to just ease that back a minute so we can have a look. Yeah, he's going to work. That's good. So that's good there. And we'll just prise him out again, because we need to put a 1.5k resistor on there. We should have used the old one, but we'll have a new one. So we've got the diodes there. They're 5408. There's our 1.5k. He'll do nicely. Compare him to the other one, he's about the same size. It's 3 watts. I don't think that even needs to be 3 watts on there, but we'll put it on anyway. So there he is on the cap. It's not soldered on yet. Right, I've got the capacitor wired up, and that's all done. What else have I done? cleaned it all up, and I found 3 mullard tubes to go in it, and I found another mullard tube to go with this one, although it's not a Great Britain one. But nonetheless, we've got all mullard. Nonetheless, we've got all mullard tubes in it. I've got the board in. I've got a couple of nuts on there on the pots, and I've got the stanchions underneath here just to keep the board up. We haven't got the bolts in yet. So when I'm happy with the capacitors that I've put in and know that they're okay, I'm going to start checking the coupling capacitors to see if we've got any leakage on them. So let's just make a start with the variac. So excuse my arm, going across there. Oh, I need to better put my meter on first, hadn't I, before we do anything else. So we know we've got voltage coming in. You can see that there, you perhaps can't see that. Let's try it on this end there. Let's see, yeah, you can just about see that now. So we're going to get the voltage up. Let's just give it a go. You can see we've got 85, and I just gave it that little bit of a tweak before we put the meter on. So we've got 25 volts on the variac. So we're just bringing it up. We've got 76 volts on the variac now. So 108 volts on the variac. Everything seems okay. Let's just check the amp meter. Yeah, fine. 152 volts. So I'm just going to leave it there, and we should start to see that voltage dropping down now as the tubes conduct, and there it goes. And we've got sound. We've got sound. Good, that's really quiet. We'll go up a bit more. 168 on the variac. You can hear this, well, you can hear the sound coming up now, but it's getting louder. So I put more HT volts on there now. We've pushed that up to 231. Let's just see what we've got on the screens. 218. Let's see what we've got on there. That's my phone. I need to move it. Not the cleverest thing to do that, is it? Let's go again. 189 volts, 88 volts on there. There's a 10k dropping a resistor there. Yeah, there's the 188. So look at the other side of that. 217. All looking good. So we're just going to let that run. We've got 168 volts on the variac, and we're just going to let that run. Now I've got to try and work out these coupling capacitors. Incidentally, that mullard, that mustard cap there looks a bit deformed. I'm afraid one of our mullard tubes is a little microphonic. Might have to swap him. I think the middle tube's the phase inverter, so we'll have to swap him. Now then, let's have a look on this. What we've got on there. Just watching I burn myself on the valves. Oh, that is microphonic. See what we've got on the other side. 138 volts. Nil pois on that side. What about this one? Nil pois. 119 volts. $166, nothing on that side, so that's a good one. That's good. That is good. Let's try this one. Oh dear. 112 volts, don't worry about it, it's only a test speaker. If it thrashes the cone a bit. So yeah, nothing on that one. And then we've got one over here. Let's try there. Nothing on there. Go to the other side. Just turn the volume down. I think that's why these volumes are up. Let's try that last one again. Oh dear. See to get anything on that one. Let's turn that down. $136. Nothing. So none of those capacitors are leaking at all. And to be honest, I didn't expect them to be, because they are absolutely brilliant capacitors. Let's see what this one's about. This might be on the tone stack. No, 112 on that side. Nothing on there, so that's not leaking at all. Nothing on that side. 136 on that side. My word. So those are in superb condition. That's cheered me up no end. So all I've got to do now with this amp is check the bias, and I can put it all back together and we can have a listen. So 9.4 still going up, 9.45 and so on. I'm just checking those tubes. That other tube, problems. Was that a problem? I think we've got a bad tube. Yes, we've got a bad tube. I thought that was constantly climbing. We've just had the hum of doom, and I'm guessing it's this valve on the left that I've put in. That tube, where's the pinnacle? So this one, actually, when I got it out, and you can probably just see on there, it says pinnacle down the side, so I think that is a pinnacle tube, and it does seem like this one's reached its pinnacle, and I'm going to have to wait for that to cool down, and then we're going to remove it. Right, I've just noticed something else on this amp. The grids on these tubes are connected to pin 1, because that's this thing with these Mullard tubes years ago. Pins 1 and 2 are connected together in these Mullard tubes, from what I can gather. In more modern tubes they're not, so we need to swap those over to pin 2. That's something we need to do. I'm surprised this pinnacle valve works, actually. That's rather surprised me. It makes me wonder whether, although that's branded pinnacle, whether that is a Mullard tube. I seem to think something in the back of my mind that pinnacle was just a distributor of valves, i.e. they got other people's valves and then put their label on them. I don't know whether that's true, so if anyone knows that, I'd be grateful if they left that in the comments. Right, let's go up again. Now we've removed that tube, which I suspect wasn't a very healthy one. So you can see that's going up now on the meter again. I don't know whether you can. Let me just hone it over here slightly. There we go. So you can see it now. What we need to look for now is if it settles. Also not got as much voltage on there now, and it is beginning to settle. Still going up a bit, and it's settled. So it looks like our friend the Mullard here, and I can't remember where this was made because it's got that code on there on the side, and I'd have to look that up now. Sorry, you can just about see that there. Yep. So that seems to have stabilized. So let's just check that side again, just to make sure there's no leakage. There's the grid stopper. No, there's nothing, is there, on there? So that's okay. Let's just check the other one. That is there. Nothing. So that's good. So let's go back to our grid stopping resistor. Sorry. Let's go back to the bias resistor, and you can see that's stabilized now where it was creeping up. So that tube, I'm afraid, there has said good night. It's all over. The fat lady has sang, or should that be sung? So 8.85, and that is a stable, that's really stable, 8.86. So we've got that. Now what we need to get is the plate cathode voltage. So I'm just going to see if I can ease down here onto that. 296 volts from plate to cathode. 296 volts, and we are at the variac. Yeah, I'm just increasing slightly. 297. And again, it's, if that's plate to cathode, and again if we go plate to ground, you can see you've got 306 volts there. That's not the reading you need to take your measurement from. It on a cathode bias amp, it needs to be plate to cathode. So there we go, we're looking at round about 297 volts, and we've got 8.6 on the I think we'd got 296 volts. Let's just put that on there. 8.9 now. Just, it's snacked up a little bit. So 297 volts. Do with a pen. Now what we need to do is shut down and just test that resistor. It may take a while to go up with the coupling capacitor being connected to it. Well, it's above 100 ohms, 101, 2. I have to say, all the resistors I've tested in this amp are really close tolerance. There's a 10k drop-in resistor there, and that measures exactly, and so did that 1.5k. It were virtually exact, but we've removed it anyway because it's old and had a lot of voltage on it. So 105.4, 8.9 divided by 105.4 equals 84 milliamps. Divide that by 2 is 42 milliamps. Take away 5% for the screens, times 297 equals 11.9 watts. And that's exactly on the money. It is, sorry about that with the camera. It's exactly on the money, 11.9 watts. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap. So all that we need to do now with this amp, I need to change pins 1 over to pins 2 on these the grids on these output tube bases, because if anybody comes and puts any modern tubes in, they won't work. There is something about that on the internet, and I remember reading it ages ago, and I also remember swapping it over on the other Wems that I've got. The Mullards will still work because pins 1 and 2 are connected together inside, apparently. I'm sure that's how it works anyway, but I'm going to swap them over, because we all know that on an EL84 pin 2 is the grid, not pin 1. And you can see here I've just had to put a different light on because the reflection of the light on the bench is making the camera flicker. So if we look, you can see pin 1 has got that's the grid wire for the grid, and you can see pin 2 has never been used. So there, pin 3 is the cathode, 4 and 5 the heaters, 6 is internal connection, pin 7 is anode, 8 no connection, and pin 9 is the pin 9 is the screen on there. And you can see here I've just had to put a different light on because the reflection of the light on the bench is making the camera flicker. So if we look, you can see pin 1 has got that's the grid wire for the grid, and you can see pin 2 has never been used. So there, pin 3 is the cathode, 4 and 5 the heaters, 6 is internal connection, pin 7 is anode, 8 no connection, and pin 9 is the pin 9 is the screen on there. So we need to move the screen from pin 1 to pin 2 on both valves, and that will be job done. And look what I've found, a Mullard tube, British made, and I've tested this and it tests brilliant. So I think this is going in. So he's in there. Of course it will need biasing again now because of that, but that's no big deal. So we'll just rebias it, just check it, make sure it's right. And there we go. Got all the knobs on, switches back on, it's all done. I've got that other Mullard tube in there now that I found. Bias is 12.2 watts now with that in. So it's only made a tiny difference, nothing, but it's always good to test to make sure. We've got the Mullards in, one there, one there, one there. I'll swap that microphonic one into the phase inverter. We'll see how we go with those. And that's it. We've got the stanchions back in and the bolts in there. It's all nice and clean. We've tested all the mustard caps and they're absolutely perfect. All the drop-in resistors test perfect. We've put the 2 capacitors in over there, and we've put in the cathode bypass capacitor there, and that is it. So all that remains now is to get this into its case, wire up the speaker, and give it a blast. Right, we're going to give this Wem a blast. It's got the old Fender Strat through it. So we've got this bright switch. You can see that is really bright. That only works on channel 1, by the way, that bright switch. Treble boost it says on there. Try channel 2. These channels are identical, apart from the bright switch. Although that one does seem to have, I've got the treble full up now, I think. Just back some of the treble. They've got new markers on these cruise control knobs. Oops. Gone a bit straight on this Strat. So this Strat's got a Seymour Duncan mini humbucker in the back, so it's on humbucker now. Lovely clean bell-like tone. So there we have it. Some very rusty guitar playing, and the Wem Dominator Mark III 1x12 combo, 2 EL84s in it, 3 CC83s, all Mullards. This is a beautiful amp, really sweet, and it's in great condition for its age. 1972 this amp was made, so it's 51 years old. So that's all for this one, and thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody that's subscribed to the channel so far and all the lovely comments that I get. And you all take care, and I'll see you all in a future video. Bye bye for now.